speaking at the Palm Beach County Emergency EOC. Let's listen in.
It's a Category 4 hurricane and deadly. We cannot take this storm lightly. Let me say it again. Hurricane Matthew is a deadly Category 4 storm, and we cannot take it lightly. If Matthew directly impacts Florida, there will be massive destruction that we haven't seen in years, comparable to what happened after Hurricane Andrew. As a Category 4 hurricane, Matthew is life-threatening with winds of 140 miles per hour and massive amounts of rain as it travels through the Caribbean Sea. I also just issued an executive order declaring a state of emergency for every Florida county due to the severity and magnitude of the storm. Every county has been included in the order to ensure we have resources for evacuations, sheltering, and other logistical needs. We are preparing for the best, we're preparing for the worst and hoping for the best, but we are not taking any chances. Here's what we know right now about the storm. Hurricane Matthew is projected to make landfall tonight, Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba. It's already killed 4 people. I cannot stress this enough. It is a deadly storm. As this hurricane bears down on these nations, we must pray for the families in harm's way. Matthew is a very slow-moving storm and is continuing to move north to northwest. At this time, the track of the storm is moving more west toward Florida. Although Matthew is not projected to directly impact Florida at this time, that could quickly change. Right now, we expect to see impacts all along Florida's east coast, ranging from the Keys to Nassau County. We are very focused on the I-95 corridor of the state. We can expect to see impacts on Florida beginning Wednesday and through Saturday. Again, this is a very slow-moving storm. One thing about slow-moving storms, you end up with more rain. Impacts of Hurricane Matthew could include tropical storm strength winds, heavy rain, rip currents, and beach erosion. But again, this could quickly change and become much, much worse. As of now, there are no evacuation orders in place, but that could change quickly also. If there's an evacuation order in your area, please listen to it and follow the directions. Once the storm comes, we cannot put our first responders' lives at risk to save you. You must leave before it's too late. We can rebuild a home and we can rebuild a business, but we cannot rebuild your life. Do not ignore the direction of local officials. This is serious, and your safety depends on you being prepared and staying alert to all warnings and orders. Make sure to watch your local news stations and stay tuned to the weather forecast. You do not want to be caught off guard with a Category 4 storm off our coast. I'm staying in constant contact with the National Hurricane Center and emergency management teams in all 67 counties to make sure that every local community has all the resources needed to prepare and respond. Our National Guard is ready to be activated if needed. With any storm like this, we always have to be focused on the potential for power outages. Everyone should prepare for the potential for their power to be lost for days or even a week. I've already started to make contact with the utilities across the state, and we'll stay in communication with them. We've already taken steps to ensure our entire East Coast has all the fuel necessary for any potential evacuations. On the Florida Turnpike, we've also placed extra fuel trucks on standby to get anywhere in the state. I encourage every family to visit www.flgetaplan.com to create an emergency plan and get ready for severe weather. You can also visit floridadisaster.org/info. Here you can find your closest shelter as well as information on road closures. It's very important to you that you know where you can go for a shelter if you need to evacuate. We still have about a day and a half until we'll start to see impacts, and having a plan will be very, very, very important and could be the difference between life and death. Make sure to have at least the following: 3 days of water, 3 days of food, medication, battery-powered radio, fully charged cell phone. When power goes out, you cannot recharge your cell phone. It might be your only contact to get information. Keep your cell phone charged at all times. Again, if Matthew directly impacts Florida, the destruction will be catastrophic and you will need to be prepared. Regardless of the direct impact, we can expect Matthew to bring heavy rain to coastal areas. It's going to be very important if we're going to continue to fight Zika that we get rid of standing water. Everybody's got rid of standing water. This is for the benefit of our pregnant women and their developing babies. Get rid of standing water, get rid of standing water, wear bug repellent, wear protective clothing. We've got to continue to fight Zika. We're preparing for the worst and hoping for the best, and we're not going to take any chances. Everyone in Florida knows and should know how to prepare. This state knows how to prepare for hurricanes, and everyone has to take this seriously. If you look what's going to happen, this thing's going along our coast. If it changes at any point, we'll not have a long time to be prepared. So you have to constantly be ready, and you have to constantly be watching the storm. Again, you can go to flgetaplan.com to understand how you can create a plan, and make sure water, food, battery-powered radio, medication. Know if you're going to think you're going to need to be evacuated. Know where your shelter might be. Don't wait and don't take any chances. We're going to continue to do updates as we follow this life-threatening storm. But glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Governor, what is your biggest worry tonight? Is it that the projected path of the storm might change and shift more towards Florida?
Right now, if you look at it, it's going to look like the projected path is along the coast, and I guess it's about 300 miles off. That's the projected path. But as you know, these things continue to change. It has continued to move west. If you look at today, the storm has moved west. If it makes a dramatic turn to the west, we're not going to have a lot of time to get prepared. So you need to get prepared today. Get your water, get your shelter. I've already talked to National Guard, they're ready. I've talked to Highway Safety, they're ready. I've talked to FDOT, they're ready for evacuation plans. We've already pre-positioned fuel trucks. I've talked to the utilities. Our utilities are starting to pre-position assets. So we're hoping that it never happens, and we hope it never comes west. We're still going to get rip currents. We're still going to get beach erosion. We're still going to get rain. We're still going to have impacts along the coast.
Governor Scott, what can families do tonight as they're watching this and starting to prepare for the rest of the week and possibly impact?
The best thing is keep watching it. Stay up to date. Watch what's happening. There's constant updates by the National Hurricane Center, so watch those. That's step one. Step two, go to flgetaplan.com. It tells you what you should do, but it's water, it's food. Here's the way to think about it. During the emergency, the first responders can't get in there any better than you can, and we're not going to put their lives at risk. So you've got to be prepared for a period of time. So prepare for 3 days. Assume no one's going to be able to get to wherever you're going to be for 3 days. If you're in an evacuation zone, you've got to get out. You can't stay. I can tell you, we just had Hurricane Hermine, and there was a lady down south part of Tallahassee, down Panacea. She didn't evacuate. I was down at her house, I think it was the day after. The water came in fast and left fast. She didn't evacuate. She had 1.5 feet before she evacuated. If it hadn't been for a high water vehicle, when she walked out of her door, she would have passed away. It got to, I think, 3.5 to 4 feet. She would have died. And so you got to take this stuff seriously. I mean, we've been blessed. We haven't had something in a while that is like this. I mean, this is right now Category 4. If you go back and look at what we just had in the Panhandle, Hermine changed right at the last minute. It changed direction some, and it got stronger right at the last minute. So they make forecasts. The National Weather Service and National Hurricane Center make all the forecasts they can make. Their forecast. It's our job and every family's job to take care of your family.
How soon will we start seeing schools canceled this week if this comes our way?
We'll see. School districts will make that decision as we see where the storm's going. But just like in all the others, we'll do everything. The school districts will do a good job of getting that information out.
Governor, you mentioned concern about the I-4 corridor, and I'm
I-95.
I-95 corridor.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering why, given that the storm is supposed to
Oh, yeah. I say I-4. It's I-95 corridor.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all up the East Coast. And if you just think about it, if it hit the Keys, that's the hardest place to evacuate because there's one road out, right? And so that's the hardest place to evacuate. But then, and then the southern part, if you take Miami-Dade coming up to Broward, you have so many people here. Now, we should be able to evacuate in the counties, but it's still a lot of people. Yes.
Governor, it's been more than a decade since Florida experienced that summer of hurricanes, and since then we've had hundreds of thousands of new residents here. We also have a new generation of Floridians who really haven't experienced a hurricane. To what extent are you worried about complacency?
Oh, I think you worry about it because people haven't been through it. They think they can go through it. You can just go watch the Weather Channel and look at prior storms and watch the stories about how people were scared that they wouldn't survive because of what happened. So oftentimes it's way worse than they thought. Whether it's You know, what we saw up in the Panhandle, we saw as much as 10 feet of storm surge. And so these storms can change at the last minute. They can get stronger. They can change direction. When I was in business during Andrew, I had 2 hospitals I evacuated, and then that's where they were supposed to come. It didn't. It went south. And it went south and hit a hospital, one of my other hospitals, that we had evacuated patients to. So it was, we had to hand vet patients for 10 hours. So.
Any other questions?
Lastly,
Yes.
maybe what specifically did you talk about here in Palm Beach County just before walking in here that makes you feel reassured about the response here, or was it certainly important to learn from our local responders?
Well, you have a very good emergency management team here. You've got a very good sheriff here, and if you look at everybody here, they work together well. This county does a very good job. You know, we went through was that 2012. 2012, we had all the water. Just remember that for a second. That's 2012. That was a hurricane that did not hit this state. And think of the flooding we got. And that went actually hit Louisiana. And look at all the flooding we got here. So we don't know what the storm bands are going to be like. We don't know how much more they're going to lead. But we also know that this is slow moving. That's when you get more rain. So, but everybody worked well here together, and so.
Governor, are you in touch with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers about the lake and the
I talked to Colonel Kirk last week, and I'll be talking to him later today. But yeah, absolutely, we've talked about how high the water is right now. I think on Thursday it was 15 points. I think he said it was 15.6, and so it's an issue of how much rain we get and how fast we get it.